much does your build really matter in Diablo 4? Today, I'm gonna put this to the test by running a random dungeon with 2 different builds. A good build I found on the internet, and a terrible build I made up of the least popular skills. Then we'll play them side by side with a timer and compare the results. Let's start with the good build. Now, if you Google best Diablo 4 build, you'll get a ton of results, and all of them recommend something different. Picking a random one from the list didn't seem scientific, so here's what I did. I picked the top 5 results Google recommended me, all from reputable sources, and mapped them out on a single skill tree. Now at a glance we can see what the top builds recommend. There is a lot of crossover between abilities despite the fact that they're all quite different. For example, every single build on this list uses teleport. 4 out of 5 builds also chose Arc Lash, Frost Nova, and Unstable Currents, which seem to be the strongest skills for the Sorcerer. Glass Cannon is also the most popular passive, with 5 out of 5 top builds selecting all 3 levels. For this run, I'll be following the Icy Veins version of the build because it has the most in common with the rest on the list. If you want to try it for yourself, I'll link it in the description below. For this experiment, I'll be running the Fetrid Mausoleum for no particular reason other than I know that I'm able to solo it with my current build on Nightmare without too much trouble. For both runs, I'm going to be keeping the same gear and Paragon points. Oh, and I'll be doing the dungeon on Nightmare difficulty just for a bit of added fun. So right off the bat, we can see the Icy Veins build is really OP. Oh my god. Wow, this build is so much better than my build. I'm just spamming skills as soon as they come off cooldown, and the mobs are just melting. Also, between the dodge and the teleport, I have a ton of mobility. The Frost Nova freezes everything around me, making it vulnerable and saving me if I get into trouble, and the Fire Shield can also be used as an offensive to burn mobs close by. The Arc Lash and Charge Bolts do a ton of damage as well, especially when Unstable Currents is active. This is a really nice build, and dare I say, a lot better than my current Fire build. The only time I struggle a little is during this event, mostly because I got a little cocky and stopped paying attention to what was going on. I can pretty much face tank the boss at the end, ignoring the mechanics for the most part and suffering very little damage even when he does grab me. Overall, I complete the whole dungeon without rushing and with the event in just under 20 minutes on Nightmare mode at level 53. Now for the worst build. Now the worst build isn't so easy to Google, so I'm going to use the same list as a guide and basically try to do the complete opposite. I'm going to avoid choosing any skill that has been used by any of the top 5 builds. This build is really a mix of elements and it doesn't feel like it'll work well together. Also, I've had to skip over all defensive and conjuration skills and I feel like it's going to come back and bite me. I'll put a link in the description to this one as well in case you feel like torturing yourself, but I wouldn't recommend it. So I start to get concerned right away with this build when I realize just how weak it actually is. As I run to the second room, which has 2 elites, I start dropping health almost right away. Okay, I don't have much of an escape. I get stun locked and then locked in the room with no way to escape. I try avoiding the AoEs and using everything I have, but none of the abilities do much damage, and just like that, I'm dead in less than 2 minutes. I run back and eventually do manage to take out the group, but it takes a lot of patience to wear them down. I adopt the strategy of running in circles and dodging AoEs while waiting for my Inferno cooldown, which seems to work, barely. If you don't believe how bad this build really is, look at how long it takes me to kill this blood vermin. 5 minutes into the run and I finally killed the group of mobs at the entrance. This is gonna be fun. I get lucky and the very next room has the bloodstone that I need to unlock the door. The trouble is there is an elite guarding it. Using the power of the temporary artillery shrine buff, I managed to get the boss down to half health pretty quickly, and then the buff runs out and this happens. I keep at it for another 1.5 minutes and finally I'm almost there. He's about to die. And then he kills me. So I make it back and there he is at full health again, mocking me. So I attempt to fight again, but without much enthusiasm, wondering if I should just give up on the whole thing when I get a brilliant idea. If you look closely, you can see the moment I figure out how I win. As they always say, if you can't hit the goal, shift the goalposts. I don't need to 100% this dungeon, I just need a completion message at the end. Which means, screw this guy, I'm grabbing the bloodstone and I'm out of here. See you later, buddy. I'm done with him. Now with the new strategy, my mission becomes a little easier and I turn this dungeon crawler into a running simulator. Unfortunately for me, the next stone is being guarded by 3 elites, so it takes me another 6 minutes and 3 deaths to steal the second one. 16 minutes into the run and I've opened my first door. By comparison, I was almost at the last boss by this time in the best build. The next part of the dungeon is a time-consuming nightmare, pun intended, The whole dungeon runs sort of like this. Kite and avoid AoEs, killing mobs 30 damage points at a time. The corpse piles I need to destroy spawn elites, which don't make the job any easier. I opt to just ignore them for the most part. 33 minutes into the dungeon and I finally make it to the dungeon boss. I'm a little worried I won't be able to beat it since every elite so far has felt like a boss. To my surprise, my abilities seem to do more damage to the Blood Bishop than they do to the bats. Now, I can't ignore the mechanics like I did on my best build, but I use the pillars to my advantage and avoid most of the AoEs. My damage is too low to prevent the explosions, so I just do a bunch of dodging, and even so, I managed to take him down in 5 minutes. Almost exactly 38 minutes after I started this dungeon, I got the completion message. Final thoughts. If there was any doubt, I think this video can put it to rest. Your build matters a whole lot in Diablo 4. The skills you choose will set your pace, dictate how much progress you make, and how much fun you have in the process. The same class with the same gear can feel like Easy Street or like you're hitting mobs with a wet noodle. This was a fun experiment to try. I have more wacky ideas for Diablo 4 experiments, so subscribe to the channel if that sounds like a good time. Thanks for watching, and I hope to see you in the next one.